So the story that I was saying, and then I had the realization that I have to go to university and get a 4 year degree in my lifetime for my life to be completed, or otherwise I'll be miserable. Before that happened, I was talking about how I was sitting in like the art department buildings near Midway Plaisance in the University of Chicago campus buildings, thinking about stuff. And I remember this moment. I was sitting there, and so the point is that I was trying to say was that because I didn't get to go to university and complete it, I went for 1 semester, and then my father failed to sign my scholarship papers because, yeah, I actually did get a fucking scholarship. It wasn't like enough to make me feel like I was gonna be okay as far as like loans and stuff for school, but I mean, I did go to university like for a semester, but then like he didn't sign some papers for financial aid, and then like I went back for second semester, and it was like, sorry, you can't get in the buildings. He didn't sign these papers. You can't. You're like your financial aid for your university is frozen, and now it's over. And I was like, well, my father has just like ruined my life completely in every way. Essentially, I love him. I think it's his life experience that like screwed him up. I don't think it's him, but he was the one through which this evil energy just like acted to destroy me. You feel me? And so anyway, um, I would go to University of Chicago, and I would kind of like, how do I say this? Like, my heart was broken because my whole life I was a good student, and my whole like personality is about being like academically oriented. It's like who I am. It's like joy to me. Uh, Classrooms and stationery and learning and the whole process of like education in a school is like a joy to me. And so not having some evil block me from having that experience, like having it come to fruition, broke my heart and broke my soul and broke my mind and broke my spirit. And because I was broken in this way, I would go to University of Chicago, and I would sit around like empty classrooms. This sounds so miserable, and it's like I'm telling you a story of like what happened. Like I'm not telling you a fiction novel. I'm like I was like this ghost of a child having all this violence and abuse happen, and then I'm just like hanging out in empty University of Chicago classrooms with my cheap ass dollar notebook because that's all I could afford, thinking about things as I can't have enough energy because I'm so bled out spiritually from trauma and its burden that I can't like work even like a dumb job in customer service long enough to make rent. But I'm sitting in these classrooms thinking because my mind, like my academically oriented like consciousness is like still like trying to like do what it would do, which is like thinking and studying and learning, understanding, becoming, like how sad is that? And so I would go to different departments of University of Chicago campus during like when the buildings were open, and I would just sit in different places. I would sit in like, you know, I would just like haunt the University of Chicago campus. And I would look like a student, and it was my way of like giving me some solace because people would think that I was a student, I looked like I went to University of Chicago and just was doing my homework or something, you know? God, I hate my dad. I hate everybody that was part of my like upbringing. Like I don't hate them, but I there's these moments as I'm saying this pain, it's like kind of slightly thawing because I'm not allowed to hate anyone. Like I'm not allowed to like you're not allowed to like have hate for anyone, and so there's a lot of like there's a lot of like self control and like a self rejection. I think there's like the shadow work thing, where like the shadow self who has not been allowed. There's like a lot of emotions there that are natural, almost like chemical consequences, like just cause and effect. The emotions aren't even like about more like they're not about like morality where it's like you're wrong because you felt this. I'm like that's like irrelevant. That's like not applicable. It's like the emotions are there because they're just like a chemical reaction to being a child who was like destroyed so thoroughly, and like those emotions need to be like allowed to like fire off, not in any violent way toward anyone in the world, but just like they're supposed to be allowed to just like fire off as like things that are, because it's like a bunch of energy that's like being like compressed, and it's toxic, or like, you know, it's like radioactive, and it needs to be like allowed to like fire off, to like complete itself. It needs to like be allowed to pop off. Yeah. And so like I think that's what's happening slightly when I'm having these moments where it's like I hate my father, and then immediately there's something that's like, you don't hate your father. It's like, it's not about me trying to hurt my father by saying that I hate him. It's about me and in my psyche being able to like allow the popping off of the chemical like compression in all of these emotions that are just natural. Like it's not more natural than even biology. Like natural in the sense of like chemical, like chemistry. Like if you mix this component with this component, this is what happens. And if you don't allow that to happen after you mix these two components, it's really bad. And it takes up because you're not allowing the natural chemical reaction to happen, it's going to still like have an effect, because it's still like a chemical reaction, because these two components were brought together. And so that the effect of you like compressing that or suppressing that creates like still some kind of effect, because you can't stop the reaction. And so then like the effect that it creates, because you're suppressing it, is a negative one, a detrimental one. And so like I just want to be clear of all this shit that has happened, all these compressed like unallowed chemical reactions. I just want to pop them all off so that they can be completed, so that I can actually have freedom from it. This is the cleanest, most like steady, most sane, most sober way I've ever heard anyone describe the process of quote unquote letting go of your past. And this is what I meant when I said like everybody needs to fucking archive the God concept, because it affects human modes of thinking in all these different ways that people are completely not aware of, because no one has ever articulated it or identified it. And one of the ways in which it affects human modes of thinking is to like kind of like all people all the time, currently the culture is in the world, people talk about things in like this like poetic, like unscientific, like, and even as I'm saying it, I'm like, I understand that this won't be heard properly, because the modes of thinking are actually like not good. They're not like quality modes of thinking. Not good as in like evil, but like not good as in like not quality. Like they don't match reality, and so people are doing worse than they have to be doing, because incorrect, contradictory, therefore false concepts like the God concept prevents human modes of thinking from being like equal to reality. Like it prevents human modes of thinking from being like rooted in reality. It prevents human modes of thinking from being like clear, like mathematical clarity. Do you know like when you're studying math and like you don't get something, and then at some point you get something, no matter what level of math you're like studying, that feeling of like, oh, I get it now, like I see. Like contradicting, like concepts that don't make sense, like the God concept, when disseminated through human consciousness on a large scale, kill off the well-being of the future of humankind, because humans now have their intellect be like deactivated, because they can't quite think properly, because everything has to filter through like this major master concept of God. And it's like you're not able to actually interact with reality, is what I'm trying to say, because you're interacting with reality like in a skewed way, because everything has to conform to the God concept, which is not, it doesn't like, you know, like in division in math, when like you divide a number by a number and then there's like a clean number and it's done, you know, like the God concept, like, it doesn't divide cleanly into realities. Now like you're having to filter everything that you know and experience through something that skews reality. And so therefore people talk about things in this kind of like poetic, kind of like not quite like grounded like way, where it's like you're not like, your roots aren't in reality, bitch, you're like floating over here somewhere, and you're forcing everyone and everything to filter through this concept that is not real. It's false, bitch. It doesn't divide evenly. It doesn't equal, motherfucker. Do you know what I'm saying? Now everything that you do going forward is ruined. And it's like something I understand intuitively now because of all the thinking and reading that I've done from like Ein. Like she inspired my thinking, and then I was thinking, and then I realized a bunch of stuff because truly, like, human consciousness has the ability to understand or to grasp like reality, because as long as nothing stands in the way between you and reality, and the God concept disseminated into your consciousness from people who want you to live inside of their mind and not in reality, prevents you from like actually dealing with reality. And so people talk in these ways where it's like, oh, you have to let go of your past, you have to forgive, and all these things, and it's always so unsatisfying because it's like these words aren't addressing the nature of the problem. The nature of the problem is that I have all these chemical reactions called suppressed emotions that I haven't been allowed to pop off, like to complete themselves, to fire off. And so I have all of this like backed up constipated energy like conflicted in my being. And so that's why I'm stuck on that shit. It's not about me choosing to like press a button that's obviously available right now for me to press called I let go of my past. And that's why there's always like stuckness for people. People feel shame and like, why am I like this? And they feel resentful of the people who are telling them these stupid ideas that aren't from their minds, that are not rooted in reality, because everything's constantly being filtered through the God concept, which is contradictory, therefore is ruining everything. And so, yeah, that's like my contribution to the collective unconscious, everything that I just said right now, just so that, like, for the benefit of the unfolding of life for human beings. But I wanted to mention how I was sitting in that campus building. The time I cut off, but I'm just gonna try to finish it, and hopefully it won't, but I might. I don't know. I was sitting at the campus. I mean, I could just delete more videos.